First, for most people, what they want stability in a treadmill. And we have, on this treadmill, we have an 18-inch wide belt. So from here to here, it's 18 inches. It's actually just a little over 18. But that's important. I'm gonna talk about things that customers want to hear and what they're comparing to, because this is one of our treadmills as well. So both of these are great treadmills. If they're shopping, I don't know, is there a fitness store here that they can buy other fitness equipment from? And they might be shopping your store, comparing it to something else?
Probably one other. Probably just one other.
Just one other? Okay, so you guys have a good market here where they don't have a lot of options. They're coming here to buy. So a wide belt is important. The motor size is important. The electronics and programs. People love to hear about programs. Even though they never use them, they like to hear that it has programs. And this model also has heart rate on it, where you can put your hands on these heart rate strips and you can feel heart rate. So we put a sticker on here so you could kind of see some of these features. You have an 18 by 50 inch wide belt. You have a 1.75 horsepower motor, and it has 1 to 12 levels of incline, and it also will handle 287 pounds. So it kind of gives you a quick way to look at that information. The motor on this treadmill, some companies will tell you that it has like a 3 horsepower motor at the peak capacity of the motor. That's not a fair comparison, because a motor doesn't ever run at peak. It runs about half speed most of the time. And that's what they call a continuous duty motor. So when a motor's rated, it should be rated at the rate that it's always running at continuous speed. So this motor is rated at 1.75. If you measured the peak horsepower on this motor, it would be over 3 horsepower. But we don't market at the 3 horsepower. There's another company in the industry that does do that, and we don't feel that's a fair comparison. So we have a very large motor in here that is 1.75 horsepower. This motor here is a 2 horsepower motor, and it's also a very, very large motor. We'll talk about this model here in a minute. So functionality on this model, you have your modes here. You can switch from different modes. You have your incline buttons and you have your speed buttons. These 3 on this side are what we call quick keys. You can push these buttons to just get right to it. You know, right, like if you start the motor, then you can push 6 and it'll go right to 6 miles per hour. Or excuse me, 6 elevation. On this side it's speed, so you've got run, jog, and walk. So jog is probably around 4. Run is probably around 5.5 or 6. And then walk would be a 2.5 to 3 miles per hour speed. This also has a little book tray where you can pull this out here and put your iPad in here if you want. It's kind of a convenience feature. And it also has these great cup holders here for water bottles, for your cell phone, whatever you'd like to put here. And it has a rack here so that if you want to watch a movie or something while you're working out, you can do that with your phone here. So features and benefits also, it folds up. So it has a shock absorber under here that keeps it from slamming down on the ground. So if you have children in the home, it's nice to have a feature like this where it has a locking mechanism here, and this will lock it in place, and so you can't pull that down. You can pull it there, so it locks in place right there. So if you pull this pin, and it'll allow that to go down, and see it won't just slam to the floor, it just goes down nice and slow. So if you have a child, you want to make sure that they understand that it's a safety feature. And notice how it has 2 speeds to the shock. It goes down to about halfway, and then it goes really slow down. So it's just very careful, very safe. The length on this is 50 inches, and that's really measured from about right here where you can walk down to the back edge of the roller. Let's say a customer comes in, and this is a little bit of a service aspect, but let's say the customer comes in and says, I bought your treadmill, but the belt keeps rubbing on the side over here. How do I fix that? There's a little attachment, or an adjustment right here. You can see a little Allen head wrench. There's one that comes with the treadmill in the box, and you can adjust this, and you just tighten. If it were rubbing to this side, you would actually tighten this up, and it'll move that belt right over where it's supposed to be. If it's rubbing up against this side, you can tighten this one, and it'll move the belt back to the center. Okay. There's also cushions here. So this is it's called a cushion deck, and it provides shock absorption for your back or for your legs while you're walking on the treadmill. These cushions on the side right here, there's three of them on this treadmill. 1, 2, 3, and they're nice thick rubber cushions that the deck floats on. It's fixed in the back, but they float in the front. And the reason that's important is when you're walking, where do you push from when you're walking? You're pushing from the back. And where do you land when you're running? You land in the front. So if I'm walking on this treadmill, when I walk, I push off from the back like this. So you want a fixed surface in the back. And when I step, I want it softer in the front. So that's important to have those rubber cushions are all from here forward. So I have a nice solid surface to push from and a nice soft landing area while I'm running. That's important. On the side here you also have incline and you have speed buttons. So I can increase and decrease the speed or the incline by just touching these buttons. This is a safety feature right here, so you clip this to your belt while you're using the treadmill. And so if I happen to fall off, if I back up, it's supposed to just pull out of there, and it will stop the treadmill immediately. Okay. Any questions about the treadmills?